first, I just want to thank everyone for being here. And I'm so excited, Joe and Jules, that you asked me to be a part of this conversation because I love your book. As you can see, I have Post-its all over it so that I won't dog ear it. I have my favorite recipes. And I have to confess, as a cookbook author, I don't usually use other people's recipes, but these are they're so easy, they're so tasty, and they're so healthy that I can't keep my hands off it. So I'm just thrilled that we get to chat. And yeah, I think we have so many intersections in our brands, and we all three live in Boulder. So thank you for having me here. And I wanted to start off, I've known you guys for several years now, but I thought it would be really interesting for other people to find out more about you. And the first thing I wanted to ask was, how did each of you become interested in health, healing, and diet? What was your personal journey with that?
I think for as long as I can remember, I've always been interested in holistic health. And my mom, who's here tonight, can attest that, I was always the kid who was like, didn't want to take medicine or necessarily do things by the books. And I gave up eating meat during Lent when I was about 17 years old, and I never went back. And it was sort of a series of like one thing leading to another that sort of activated this passion within me. And so, one of those times was meeting a coworker where I was a server at a restaurant, and she healed her body using the Hippocrates diet, which is all about colonics and wheatgrass and raw food. And right then and there, something switched inside of me, and I was like, I've got to know more about this. And I sort of put a bookmark on that and continued to, go through college and live rather unhealthfully, like a lot of college kids do. But I started doing yoga early on, and I actually started doing yoga in high school as well with Lily and someone or another. It was a VHS tape, right? And she was the yoga instructor that, basically was wearing the leotard and the leg warmers. And, so I was always kind of interested in this alternative healing path. And I would say, when I moved to Boulder to pursue yoga as a profession, and it was through teaching yoga that a studio owner really turned me on to the raw food diet. And I got this book, and I was like, I'm going to go raw today. And I opened up the book, and it was like, soak your nuts and your grains and your seeds for 7 days. And I very quickly closed the book, and I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. And so that was sort of my entry into, this experimentation with healthy or alternative diets. And right out of the gates, I felt like I failed, right? So, when we created the Conscious Cleanse, I was like, that can't happen for people, right? It has to be really accessible. So that's sort of, the highlights that is not written in the book.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think I have that raw food book also right back there.
Yeah. I just gutted my office, and I finally got rid of it. I was like, this is very, very, it's a beautiful book, but I could not do anything with it.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe, what about you? How did you become interested in health and healing and diet?
Well,
We heard a little bit about it in your bio, which is, oh my gosh, sounds like it was really overwhelming and traumatic. But talk about lemons into lemonade. What has this journey been like for you?
well, something it's in our first book, but I don't share it as much all the time. And my mom's on the call as well, but she, this is a big nod to her, is that when I was a kid, I was the canary in the coal mine always.
Mhm.
I would eat a food and react. If something was cooked in plastic, I would swell up. I went into anaphylactic shock 6 times under 2. Like I was just eating things, and my body was just going through the roof. And my mom took me to several doctors who told me I would never be a normal kid, and I was going to be like a bubble child. and they just wanted to put me on nebulizers and breathing machines. And my mom at the time, and this was in, the late 70s, she just walked out of several doctors' offices, and she had this instinct within her that there had to be a different way. And I really credit that as to like where I feel like I get my strength and my intuition at this point about what's good for me and what is right, because she saved my life. I mean, she literally made a decision that food would be the pathway, not all these medicines. I could have at that time gone through years and years on medications and then tried to figure things out a different way, but she figured it out, and she found this doctor named Theron Randolph, and he is kind of was at the forefront of allergy medicine. And he started to figure out with my mom what I was allergic to. And all of a sudden, I stopped going into anaphylactic shock, and I was able to breathe, and I stopped having all these reactions. And my mom, dedicated her life in the beginning to me and making me healthy. And that was amazing. So that has really informed me in what we do in the Conscious Cleanse today, because I realized there were certain foods that would literally take me out and take me down, even as a young child. And we apply that type of thinking, to what we do in our cleanse with allergies and sensitivities. But so I had that experience. And then later on, like you heard in my bio, I got hit by a truck going 70 miles per hour on my bike. And that took me out again. And at that point, I had to kind of dig deep and think about the things I had learned as a child and as a kid, and think like, how could I use food to help me heal? But at first I just got really stuck into doing all sorts of fad diets. So like Jules, she went the raw food route. I went like the Jenny Craig and the Weight Watchers and the counting points and shakes and all the things, and like stepping on scales and feeling like crap about myself, and nothing worked after my accident, because I was looking at food as the enemy rather than food as healing. And so it was really a turning point when I started to look at food as medicine. And that's kind of the beginning and the springboard of the story, and how I got interested in food and nutrition.
That's really amazing. You've been such a warrior and a survivor in all of this. And Joe, I know you and I have somewhat similar histories, and I was so interested just now to learn about your mother, not being willing to succumb to all the medications from doctors when you were a child. And my father was that person for me, but he's a doctor, and he just he's in preventative medicine. He's a preventative cardiologist, so he does the stress tests and the diet, and tries to keep you from going to the surgeon. But he trained me the way your mother worked with you. He would always say, don't get that procedure. Whatever you do, you don't want to go out under general anesthesia or twilight unless you absolutely have to. So it's interesting to hear how our parents affected us. And sometimes we want to be like our parents, and sometimes we want to be different. And I'm curious, Jules, when you were raised, what was your upbringing? More your parents trying to save you from junk food, or giving you junk food? Or how do you fit into this paradigm?
Well, I just had a flash of the Debbie snacks that were, available. But what I do attribute to my mom, and what I appreciate now as a mother, is I try to sit down with my family for dinner, and it's hectic, right? I've got 3 boys. Elana, I know you have a handful of boys as well, but we always would sit down for dinner. And I think that that was something that was such a powerful piece of my upbringing. But, I think we had more of a standard American diet. And if I think about, sort of the path I was headed down, I definitely, would easily be 30 pounds heavier today with who knows what kind of symptoms and ailments, if I would have kept eating that way. So, it was really that, I think that, giving up meat and then trying to be a healthy vegetarian, everybody was so concerned back in the day. It was like, well, you're going to be a vegetarian, where are you going to get your protein?
Yeah.
Everyone was so concerned. And, I, to this day, I laugh because I have a best friend growing up. Her name was Jo, also This Joe has a best friend growing up. Her name was Jules. So that's something that's funny and kind of weird. But my best friend Joe was like, I can't wait till you get pregnant because you're going to eat a hamburger. And, like everyone was just always like, where are you going to get your protein? And any day now you're going to crack and you're going to eat meat. And so, I was trying to incorporate healthy protein into my diet. And I definitely got tripped up. I read Veggie Times, all those magazines, it was like soy protein, soy milk, tofu for lunch, tempeh for dinner, edamame in between, soy sauce on everything. And, when Joe and I came together, we sort of were able to link our puzzle pieces together. Like she held a piece that was really important for my vibrant health and my optimal healing, which was this allergy piece. So after years of eating soy 3-4 times a day and dairy, I had developed a sensitivity to it.
Wow.
And so that's maybe takes us into another piece. But that's kind of, where my odyssey had started, was with that, exploration into a vegetarian diet.
So I love that there's a spaciousness in this book and also in the Conscious Cleanse program for every different type of diet, as long as it's a real food, healthy diet, which is the diet I'm on. So here we are, three different cookbook authors that have 3 different ways that we want to eat. And I think what it exemplifies is that we're all biochemical individuals and we need to do what's best for us within a healthy framework.
When we met, we kind of were figuring that piece out, because she came and we came together, and it was actually like this very synchronistic, magical time in our lives, because I was eating meat and she wasn't. I came from this extreme level of chronic pain. I had gained 40 pounds and I was in severe depression. She was exploring raw foodism, and we looked like we couldn't be different. But when we came together, we took our experiences and we really blended them. And we realized that, Jules doesn't eat meat, I do. But the center of what we do is to add in more vegetables, and that there is this bio-individual approach with finding what are we allergic to, what are we sensitive to, but we all can add in more veggies, but how do we thrive? And so I think Jules and I have been talking about this for over a decade. Like, there is not one way to eat for every single person. And if you've ever been told that, then you're going to already be set up for failure. So that's one of our biggest messages as well.
I was just going to add too, Elana, that, there's this piece that I've always shied away from saying I'm a vegetarian, I'm a vegan. There's something about the label that kind of puts you into a box, and that all of a sudden one day, if you decide that you're going to eat some fish, all of a sudden, well, you're a failure. And so I think that also sets up this situation where everyone is like in their own box. Agreed. And in their own corner, if you will. And it kind of creates this opportunity where, like people on different diets, you hear it on the web all the time, right? Like the vegans fighting with the paleo people, and the paleo people fighting with the ketotarians. And it's just like, what we do is focus on the things that we're all, that everyone can agree with. This is about like inclusivity, and what does everybody agree to, like drinking more water and eating more vegetables, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that is okay, depending on your constitution. But you have to have that strong foundation for any diet program to work.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And I want to ask you something that we haven't spoken about before, which is habit creation. Because when you talked about getting people to drink a little more water, something I've been really curious about during the COVID pandemic, now that it's been 52 weeks, is how do I create my habits? And do I choose them consciously or unconsciously? And what makes them stick? And I'm guessing your entire program is about that. And I'd love to hear a little bit about either habits or the Conscious Cleanse program, or both.
Yes, well, certainly it takes having a framework or a system for many people to create habits. Some people are DIYers and they can be like, today I'm going to wake up. Actually, Jules could do this. This is very Jules. She could be like, today I'm going to change this and never go back. That's just the way she is. And I'll be like, I'm going to think about this for a while. And then I want a bunch of people in my corner to do this with me. And
Right.
that's why, you know, I think changing habits requires a support system. I think it's putting it out in an intention and a commitment to say, I'm doing this, and creating really a very body experience of when you say, I'm going to do this thing, why you're doing what you're doing. It's not just like, I want to lose weight, because most people, weight loss is not exciting. It's not inspiring. It's like, well, I'm going to do this because it's going to make me thrive, and I'm going to have longevity, and I'm going to be able to play with my kids when I'm 60 or 70, and I'm going to be able to go skiing with them. Like things that light you up and make the arm hairs stand up. That's what I know. I'm always like, okay, I can do this if I inspire myself to make the arm hairs stand up. And that's what we try to do for people, is we're like, okay, how can you really dig into that? And that's unique to our program, and what Jules and I realized when we were trying to create a habit and our conscious cleanse. Like, how do people stick with something like that?
There's something that we do in our program that is what we call the mental detox. And it's basically journaling every single morning, where you write out on a piece of paper for 15 minutes, uncensored, all the garbage, which are the thoughts that aren't helpful, that are swirling around your brain. Nobody would want to read this journal entry. It's basically like, oh, I didn't sleep very well. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I think I'll go get some lemon water. Oh, I really want to do this. You know, it's just like you watch your mind ping pong. And anyone who's had a meditation practice or learned how to meditate, you can watch your thoughts. They never stop. Yeah. And so through that process, you can be like, wow, I really want to exercise today, or I really want to eat right today. Oh, I hope I don't have that crash at 3 p.m. What am I going to do instead? And so you sort of you get that intention, and you journal about it every single morning, and you set that intention new for the day, while also sort of, you know, emptying the trash that is your the mental garbage that swirls around our brains. And then you have that intention going into your day. We always like to tell people who come to our program, just do one thing today, like one baby step. So if it's like, you know, the foot exercise today, great. If it's only drinking 1 cup of coffee as opposed to 2 cups of coffee or 6 cups of coffee, great. You know, and then you layer it on. And I think that that's, you know, something that I'm super passionate about, is that anything that we teach people is sustainable, because otherwise it's like, why bother, right? It's like that raw food book that feels super unattainable. We want it to be sustainable for people.
And on top of that, Jules, I think the thing that we've figured out over the years is at the end of the day, we try to focus on everything we did well. So like Elana, any new habit, like for me, if I had great intentions of doing 10 things, my brain automatically goes to, and I don't know if you can relate to this, or Jules too, that goes to like, I just didn't get even half of what I wanted to do today. And I like beat myself up about it. And so it's a conscientious effort to change the script and say, what did I do well today? And that makes a huge difference. It shifts the energy, and it makes me want to do healthier things and take on healthier habits when I'm really kind to myself. But I actually make myself list out, whether it's writing it out or mentally saying it in my head, what did I do well today?